Thank you for having me here, and thank you for inviting me. It's an honor. Let me start with the idea of reforming Al-Azhar, for example, as the biggest institution in the Muslim world. Can we reform Al-Azhar? The problem with reformation, it's linked to reforming Islam. It's different, but it's linked. Reforming institution, it's linked to reforming Islam. Because Al-Azhar is not teaching biology, for example, is teaching products that are Islam. What we call Turat, Islamic, or the Islamic heritage, it's all of it. It's all of Islam. It's the Quran, it's the Hadith, it's the Seerah, and all these. So to reform Al-Azhar, we have to reform the content, what they are teaching to other people. And there are problems with the Reformation itself. There are problems with the notions, definitions. Let's start with the definitions. The word reform comes from Latin. It means change or reshape. It's changing a shape. In Arabic, it means islah. It's different. Islah is to bring something to its working state, the original state. It was made originally working, but something happened, it broke, and then you're bringing it to a working shape. Tuslah as-sayyara, is fixing the car. The car was working, but you fixed it. You brought it to original shape. Can we reform Islam? Can we reform Islamic institutions, since they are both linked? Well, it's like saying bringing Islam to its original shape, to a working shape. What if the original shape was not working? What if it was deformed from the start, from the beginning? It was born deformed. You cannot reform something that was born deformed. And here we go to some problems that were mentioned by our panelists here. There are 4 mistakes. Those who believe in Reformation, they have 4 fundamental misunderstandings. First, they assume that all religions are the same. They are good in their core belief. They are born good, and they are for the good of humanity. But later on the course of history, they have been changed or altered by politicians, by different people, and that's what made them evil. They put Christianity with Buddhism, with Islam, everything in one basket. And that's wrong. We cannot approach religions with the same mentality. They are not the same. There are some religions, they are peaceful from the start. There are other religions, they are not peaceful, they are violent from the start. There are religions where the leader was peaceful. There are religions where the leader was violent. There are religions that the first community was peaceful because the first community represents what religion is. Texts are just texts. But the application of those texts on the ground tell us what religion is. Let's say Christianity was practiced by the first apostles and the first disciples. Islam was practiced by the first Muslim community. What if the first community was violent? So bringing Islam to its first shape is actually, that's what we call Wahhabism and Salafism. And it will not give us a better results. It will give us probably a disaster. The second problem is comparing Islam to Christianity. Since the Reformation was successful with Christianity, either through Protestants or through Catholics, because there are Catholic Reformation as well. So because it was successful, then it must be successful with Islam. Well, that has an assumption that Christianity is like Islam and the West is like the East, and that's not happening. It doesn't exist. The West is not the East, and Christianity is not Islam. And Jesus is not Muhammad, and the Bible is not the Quran. we have main differences that will be an obstacle in front of reformation. The third problem is the wishful thinking. I wish that Islam can be reformed. I hope, I pray. But is it going to happen? That's a different story. People in the West, they wish that Islam can be reformed. And because they have this wishful thinking, they want it to happen, and they encourage everybody who says, I am a reformist. I want to reform Islam. They encourage him, they clap for him, and they bring him to the front stage because they want that to happen. But on a pragmatic level, it's not going to happen. It's just wishful thinking. The problem has another minor problem in it. The idea of reforming something is easier than confronting the whole thing. So since it's easier, we prefer reformation. Confrontation is not welcome, especially in the West. A person like me is labeled like Imam Tawhidi, like Raymond Ibrahim, like many others. We are labeled as bigots, haters. Why? Because we confront the problem. We don't play political correctness. So when you don't play with the system, there are people, they want and they wish it's going to be reformed. If you say no, then you are bigot. You are from the other side. People, I appreciate that Coptic Solidarity invited me. But because inviting people like us probably will put you in trouble as well. You will be labeled as well. Not many people like to invite people like us. Why? Because it will cause a problem. It's not comfortable to confront Islam, to tell 1.5 billion that your religion has a problem in the root. It's not cosmetic. It didn't happen through history. It's from the beginning, and you have to deal with it. That's a hard message. Not everybody willing to embrace it. The fourth problem is we have some reformists, and we think they are going to reform Islam. In the West, I don't want to put names, but you know them. You can see them on CNN, on other stations, on Fox as well. You see them everywhere. And I liked your questions when you asked, do they have at least one mosque? You can call it a reformist mosque. Do they have a reformed Quran? Do they have a reformed hadith? A reformed biography? Zero. They are not changing the Muslim world. They are changing the Western world. So they are doing the opposite of what they are claiming. They are popular among Westerners, but they're not popular among Muslims. So the change, if it's happening here among those who do not need change. It's an opposite reformation, actually. Or actually, it's selling a product that people want to buy, but it's not a real product. It's selling you what you wish. You wish Islam to be reformed? Yes, we can reform it. When? Wallahu a'lam. Those guys, I can name them. They are just, you can count them. They are not many. And they are considered non-Muslims. They are considered apostates. They are not welcomed. And they are not making any change whatsoever. Am I saying that we should convert every Muslim as a solution, as my brother Imam Tawhidi mentioned? No, I'm not saying that. I said I choose Christianity for myself. I recommend it for people who want to leave Islam. But I'm not saying that's the only solution. The solution is we have first to diagnose the problem. To say what's the problem. Is it to reform Islam? Or to say what Islam is first? Where is the problem? Is it in Al-Azhar or in the product of Al-Azhar teaching? Is it in the text or what happened through history? I think it is in the root. It is in the religion itself. How to deal with it then? Well, there are some solutions. One of them, it's happening actually. Until 1961, slavery was allowed in the Muslim world. We didn't reform Islam to change slavery. We just forced the Muslim world to follow the international laws to abandon slavery. Do they still have it in the text? They still have it. Are they able to apply it on the ground? No. Let's say hand amputation, lashing people, stoning people. Did we achieve that by reforming Islam? No, we didn't. Do they still believe in it? Yes, they do. Does the Quran still have those texts? Yes. How did we achieve that in Egypt, for example, they don't stone somebody who committed adultery? They don't cut the hands of a thief. They put him in jail. In Morocco, the same thing. How did we achieve that? By forcing them to follow the international laws. By disabling those texts. If you want to pray to your God using those texts, you're welcome. Go do it. But you cannot apply it on the ground. Because it's inhumane. It's not welcomed internationally. So how are we going to achieve it? By forcing Muslim countries to embrace the international human rights. By separation between the state and religion. By respecting religious freedom. They are not going to attain it through reformation, but by people like you and by countries like United States making Muslim world submit to the international community. That's how we are going to achieve results. In Morocco, for example, they could have killed apostates like me. They can't. Not because they don't believe in it. No, because they are afraid of the international community. So we can make some changes, but not through reformation, but through people like you and through countries in the Western world. But thank you and God bless you.